You send a message that took you 12 seconds to write, and then you watch the screen like it owes you an explanation. An hour passes. 2. You tell yourself you're chill. You're busy too. You're not the kind of person who needs instant replies, but your brain starts doing that thing where it quietly builds a whole documentary out of one unread bubble. They saw it. They didn't care. You said something weird. They're mad. They're losing interest. They're talking to someone else. And the worst part is how normal it looks on the outside. You're just waiting, living your life, not staring at your phone every 3 minutes like a raccoon guarding a trash can. Except you kind of are, because slow replies hit a very specific nerve. Not just, I want attention. It's deeper than that. It's the feeling of being left in the hallway with no door handle. You know the pattern. There's the friend who always replies 3 days later with, sorry, I'm the worst, like it's a personality trait. And somehow you're the one who ends up comforting them, even though you were the one ignored. There's the person you're dating who sends warm, flirty messages when they feel like it. They can be intensely present, then vanish for 12 hours like they got summoned to a secret mission. And you try to act cool. You wait a little before you reply back, because you don't want to look too available, like being emotionally consistent is a crime. Or there's the version that hurts the most. They reply fast to everyone else. You see it, online, liking things, posting stories, laughing in public, while your message sits there like a plant they forgot to water. And now you're not just waiting, you're negotiating with your self-respect. Do I double text? Do I ask if everything's okay? Do I pretend I didn't notice? Do I match their energy, even though their energy is basically a closed gas station? And here's where it gets interesting. Not everyone who replies slowly is rude, but not everyone who replies slowly is innocent either. Slow replies aren't one thing. They're usually a mix of boundaries, anxiety, and power. Sometimes all three at once. Let's start with the most generous version. Some people reply slowly because they're protecting their autonomy, their sense of freedom. To them, a message can feel like a tiny, invisible hand reaching into their day and tugging. Not because you're demanding, not because you did anything wrong, but because their nervous system interprets someone needs something as, I'm about to lose control of my time. Maybe they grew up in a house where privacy didn't exist, where if you were reachable, you were responsible, where being available meant being used. So now, adulthood looks like this. They see a message and they don't think, oh nice, connection. They think, if I answer now, I'm locked in. Because replying isn't just replying, it's opening a door, it's inviting expectations. It's starting a conversation that might require emotional energy they don't have at that moment. So they wait until they feel in control again. And from the outside, it looks like indifference. But from the inside, it's self-defense. Then there's the anxious version, which is almost the opposite. Some people reply slowly because they care too much. They see your message, and suddenly their mind starts writing 10 possible responses, each one with a different risk level. If I reply too fast, I look needy. If I reply too slow, I look cold. If I say the wrong thing, they'll judge me. If I say the right thing, now I have to keep being that version of me. So they don't reply. Not because they don't want to, because the message has become a test they didn't study for. Avoidance coping is what happens when your brain decides, this is uncomfortable, so let's just not. It's not laziness, it's not cruelty. It's a very human strategy. Delay the thing that makes you feel trapped, exposed, or overwhelmed. The phone becomes a tiny stage, and replying feels like walking into the spotlight with no script. So they postpone. They tell themselves they'll do it later when they have the perfect words. And later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes, oh no, it's been too long. Now it'll be awkward. And now they're not just replying late, they're avoiding the shame of replying late. And the silence grows. But there's another version people don't like to talk about, because it's not as sweet. Sometimes slow replies are about perceived control. Not consciously, not always in a villain way, but in a subtle, human way. In relationships, the person who cares more often feels less power, and the person who can take longer, who can disappear and return without consequence, quietly holds the steering wheel. If you know someone will be there whenever you come back, you don't feel urgency. If you know they're waiting, you can set the pace. So some people delay replies because it keeps the other person slightly off balance. It keeps the attention on them. It makes the connection feel scarce, which makes it feel valuable. It's like emotional limited edition. And the confusing thing is, they might still like you. They just like the advantage more. They like not being the one who's waiting. And here's the part nobody tells you. These three reasons can blend into each other so smoothly that even the slow replier doesn't know which one is driving. A person can have real boundaries and still enjoy the power. A person can be anxious and still create control. A person can be overwhelmed and still be inconsiderate. Because psychology isn't a courtroom, it's a weather system. Now let's talk about what slow replies do to you. Because the real story isn't just their thumbs, it's your nervous system. When someone doesn't reply, your brain searches for meaning. It hates uncertainty. Uncertainty feels like danger, even when you're safe on your couch. So your mind fills the gap. And if you've ever had to work for love, you know this feeling. If you grew up with caregivers who were unpredictable, your brain learned a painful skill: monitor the silence. You became good at reading pauses, tone changes, the time it takes for someone to come back. Because back then, silence wasn't neutral. Silence meant something. It meant someone was upset. It meant you did something wrong. It meant you were about to be punished or ignored. It meant affection could disappear. So now, an unread message doesn't feel like they're busy. It feels like standing in front of a vending machine that sometimes gives you food and sometimes eats your money. You keep pressing the button anyway, because when they do reply, it feels like relief, like being chosen again. And that relief can become addictive. That's the deeper layer. Slow replies can turn connection into a reward system, random reinforcement. Sometimes you get warmth, sometimes you get silence. Your brain gets hooked trying to predict it. It's not that you're dramatic, it's that you're human. And the cost of this pattern is sneaky. You start shrinking your needs so you don't seem too much. You start timing your replies like you're playing chess instead of building intimacy. You start telling yourself you're fine with crumbs because you don't want to admit you're hungry. And eventually, you stop asking for what you actually want: consistency, clarity, basic respect. But let's also be fair to the other side for a second. Some people reply slowly because their brain is already overloaded. Notifications feel like mosquitoes. Work is loud. Family is loud. Their own thoughts are loud. And texting feels like one more demand in a day full of demands. So they don't answer quickly. Not because you don't matter, because everything matters at once, and they're drowning. The point is not to label people as good repliers and bad repliers. The point is to see the pattern for what it is, and decide what it means for you. Because here's the shift. You don't need to mind read slow replies. You need to read the relationship. If someone replies slowly but consistently shows care, follows through, and makes you feel secure when they are present, that's a boundary or a personality rhythm. If someone replies slowly and you constantly feel confused, anxious, and like you're auditioning for basic attention, that's not just a texting habit. That's a dynamic. And dynamics don't change because you become easier to ignore. So what can you do without turning into a detective or a person who doesn't care as a lifestyle? First, name your need without shame. You're allowed to want responsiveness. You're allowed to want clarity. That doesn't make you needy. That makes you relational. A simple truth: people who like you won't punish you for wanting to feel connected. Second, stop treating anxiety like evidence. That feeling of panic when they don't reply, it's real, it matters, but it's not always a prophecy. Sometimes it's an old alarm going off in a new room. So when the alarm rings, ask, is this about them right now? Or is this my brain remembering a time when silence meant abandonment? That question alone can give you back your power. Third, communicate like an adult, not a strategist. Not a long paragraph. Not a confrontation. Just clean honesty. Something like, hey, I notice I feel a bit disconnected when responses take a long time. No pressure to be instant, but consistency matters to me. The right person won't mock that. They'll adjust, or at least talk about it. The wrong person will make you feel crazy for asking.
And that response tells you more than the reply time ever could. Fourth, watch for patterns of control. If someone only replies fast when they want something and slow when you need something, that's not busyness, that's priority. If they disappear and then return like nothing happened, expecting you to be grateful for crumbs, that's not mysterious. That's a power move with a friendly face. You don't have to punish them, you just have to stop volunteering for the role of always available. Finally, build a life where your phone isn't the judge of your worth. Because the most dangerous story is when you start believing that quick replies mean you're lovable and slow replies mean you're not. That's not love, that's conditioning. You are not a notification someone has to clear. You are a person. And the right connections won't make you feel like you have to earn basic presence by being low maintenance. They'll make consistency feel normal. And if someone can't meet you there, it doesn't mean they're a bad human. It just means your nervous systems speak different languages, and you're allowed to choose the language that feels like peace. Because the goal isn't to get everyone to text you back faster. The goal is to stop letting silence decide how you feel about yourself. If this felt like it was written about you, you're not alone. Subscribe to Inner World. We explore the patterns that make us human.